Hello and welcome everyone. Today we are going to discuss some open source that how we can leverage open source with AWS. So before we dive deep into this topic, a quick introduction about me. My name is Dipali Kulshrestha and I'm it's almost 2 decades into IT industry now, and currently I'm working as vice president with NetWest Group. In AWS space, I have obtained few certifications like AWS Cloud Practitioner, Solutions Architect Associate, Solution Architect Professional, and I'm user group leader for AWS User Group Delhi NCR. And I'm proud to be recognized as AWS Hero. And also, I'm passionate LinkedIn learning instructor where I have created few courses. As you can see, DevOps with AWS, data engineering with AWS, and generative AI with with Amazon Bedrock. So if you are trying to enhance your skills in any of these areas, these might be the good resources because they are just 2 hours in duration and have got lots of hands-on exercise in order to help you expedite your learning journey. All right, so let's start discussing about today's topic, open source. As we all know, open source is something which refers to that is designed to be freely modifiable, that is shared, and because its blueprints are publicly accessible. So this concept originated in software development world where source code, underlying instructions for a program, and it is open for everyone to see, so they can see, they can change, and they can distribute. So let's discuss some of the core principles of open source. As open source encourages the free exchange of ideas and information, this transparency definitely fosters collaboration and innovation, and anyone with the skills and interest can contribute to an open source project. This distributed development model leads to faster progress and a wider range of perspective. And it definitely allows us for quick prototyping. So we can iterate and experiment pretty quickly. Developers can test new ideas and new features. And so this leads to faster innovation and quick time to market. And these are transparent. Open source projects are very transparent by nature as they are shared, anyone can see, anyone can change, anyone can create innovative products out of the base image which we have got. So so this is openly accessible, fostering trust and security. And it also promotes the community oriented development because it thrives on the concept of strong community. Developers and users, they work together to build, improve, and maintain the project. It's not like typical software development life cycle where we get the requirement, we create a design, develop that, and deliver the outcome. So it's something which goes hand in hand where everyone is collaborating and maturing the product. So this combination creates a unique and powerful development model which fuels the innovation. And just a second, guys. So yes, so as we know, so we were talking about that when we say community oriented development and it is transparent, it is rapid, so all these combinations, it has a very powerful combination. So we can innovate faster and we can collaborate across various domains. So now let's discuss some of the key benefits of combining open source with AWS. So please tell me in very layman terms that what is your understanding? Why do we use cloud these days? Means why we use cloud resources like AWS, GCP, Azure? I would like to see some comments, some responses in the chat. what is the prime reason? What is the key benefit when we are using cloud resources? I'm stopping my screen share so I can see the comments. And please try to keep it little interactive. Okay, to share data which is of large amount. Okay, to save some physical space. All right. Any other ideas, please? What is the prime reason? Why do we use cloud? And let me know if you have used any of the cloud computing, whether it is GCP, AWS, Azure, or any other. Having more access to save cost of setting servers, databases. Yes, all these responses are correct. But if we go by definition, like cloud computing is all about giving you on demand delivery of IT resources with pay as you go pricing model. So when we say on demand delivery of IT resources means resources are available as and when you need. You really need not to wait for those resources. And pricing, you don't need to pay everything upfront. For example, let's say you need a machine where you want to explore or you want to build a machine learning application or machine learning model. So you need a machine which is of huge configuration. And considering you are students and you don't want to invest, you don't have that much money to invest for such experiments. So how to go with the innovation? So that is where cloud resources comes in handy. So you can procure one cloud machine and you can pay as it's like monthly bills. You don't need to purchase a machine and pay upfront, okay, like we pay for our laptops, etc. So you don't need to make the upfront investment and you can pay as much as you use those capacities. So we pay that in monthly bills. So key, if I go by like key benefits which we have or which industry is benefiting nowadays using the cloud resources is definitely this pay as you go pricing model plus scalability, as some of you have said that yes, we can host more data because when we are using let's say physical hardware, so we always have limits, that we have limits on CPU, we have limits on storage. So we always get into the capacity issues, that okay, this much we can store. But in cloud you have got that capability that you can scale as much as you can. So it gives us scaling, it gives us cost benefit. Let me start sharing my screen again. So we discuss these. So yes, so it gives us like cost efficiency as we discussed. And how open source software can reduce cost? Because there is no licensing fee, there is a community support available, and you can customize it as and when you want. And AWS provides us like cost effective solutions for hosting and managing open source applications, because it gives us pay as you go pricing model, it gives us like free tier. So AWS, in AWS you can use many resources, or if you, when you're creating your account, many services are available as free for 1 year. But every service has its own limit. It's not like that as much as you use it will be free for 1 year. It is not the case. So it has a cap. So it provides free tier and it gives us cost management tools so we can optimize the cost. And it also provides lots of managed services, the fully managed AWS services. So we really need not to worry about like hosting, managing those services. We just need to innovate. We just need to create our innovative applications. So that is where AWS is very popular. All the clouds are very popular, and because they helps us innovate faster with, and they give us more time, more resources, more money to really build on the specific applications rather than struggling with infrastructure issues. Another key benefit is that we discussed this scalability, because leveraging AWS scalable infrastructure with open source technologies is like we can use EC2, so that can be scaled up or down. So for example, when you are into the development phase, you can create your application on low configuration machines. But when you want to productionize your applications, when it is like your application is in demand, it is getting lots of requests, then you can scale whenever you want. So you can scale up, you can scale down. Let's say you have provisioned a large size machine in the beginning, but you see, okay, this much capacity I'm not using. So you can scale down it as well. And in terms of storage also, it gives us like scalable storage solution. I hope you guys are familiar with Amazon S3, which is like simple storage service. And it gives us like means we can scale as much as we want. So it is like very popular storage solution in today's time. And another benefit is like it gives us the global infrastructure, so you can create your application anywhere in the world. It's not like that, okay, you are in India, so you can deploy your application in India only. And to deploy your application in US, UK, you need to physically go there. No, that is not the case. So you can deploy your application sitting at one place across the world. So we get like auto scaling, load balancing, and global reach when we are using AWS resources and when we are deploying our application, and especially open source applications. It definitely gives us innovation and agility because we can do faster development and deployment with open source tools and it on AWS. And as we discussed in the beginning, the core like principles of open source, that we can rapid prototype, CI/CD integration, microservices, serverless architecture, like we can build anything we think. So this combination is like a very great combination, and you can really create your products the way you think. If you have like clarity what you want to build, you just keep on building, and you can see your ultimate product much sooner than the traditional approach. Or if you are not using open source, if you are taking some license, you are using some other like software as a solution or something. So this combination, open source with cloud, is the like most innovative, most agile solution in current time. Now let's talk about some popular open source tools which are available in AWS. So when we talk about databases, when we are creating some applications where we need to use databases, so there are like couple of services available in AWS. We have RDS, which refers to relational database service. And in RDS, like it supports various relational database engines, like MySQL is there, PostgreSQL, MongoDB, Oracle, and SQL Server. So you and MariaDB is also there. So we have like various flavors available when we use these databases. So these are just RDS databases. These are like open source, which are available in AWS. And apart from this, AWS has its own proprietary database services available as well. Not only the relational one, it has like different kind of databases for different needs. For example, if you need let's say NoSQL database, so we have like DynamoDB there in AWS. So and if you are working on some IoT application and you need to store your time stream data, so there is a like time stream databases there. So there are various flavors are available, so you can choose anything for your application which like fits your need. Then, when we talk about containerization, so the popular open source which are supported by AWS are like Docker and Kubernetes. When we are building some DevOps pipelines, then we have our support for Jenkins, Ansible, Terraform. Though AWS has its own tools, own services as well. For example, when we trying to develop CI/CD pipeline with AWS native services, so there are services code commit, code build, code deploy, and code pipeline. Using those services, you can build your CI/CD pipeline. And if we are looking for infrastructure as code, we can leverage AWS's own cloud formation. But it very well supports Jenkins, Ansible, and Terraform as well. And Terraform is very popular these days because the key benefit we get with this, that these are not like just AWS specific. You can actually use the same script to create your infrastructure in any cloud, whether it is AWS, GCP, or like any other cloud. When we talk about big data and analytics, the very popular Hadoop and Spark, Kafka, these platforms, these are supported by AWS. And there is a service, if you have like tried your hands on AWS, so there is a service known as EMR, which is Elastic Map Reduce. So using EMR, you can actually use all of these services. And if you're working on some machine learning applications, so it very well supports these libraries, TensorFlow, PyTorch, Jupyter Notebooks, and various other tools. So this is just glimpse of services to give you an idea that these are the popular open source which are supported by AWS. Any question till that point? Let me take a pause. To save cost, to make data accessible. Any questions, guys, so far? Someone is saying, will you teach AWS today, or it is just why it should be used? So we are actually going to talk about both, that, okay, like how we can leverage AWS to build our open source applications. That's the key focus for today's session. Okay, I'm just waiting for a moment if any question pops up. Otherwise, we'll continue. Okay, we'll revisit this comment section after a while. All right. So now let's discuss some of the use cases which are like we are familiar with, which are like successfully running. They are built using open source and they are deployed on AWS. So very first one which I wanted to discuss is Netflix. So all of us know Netflix is a streaming platform. So how it has built its infrastructure, it has built it using like streaming services like Apache Kafka for real-time data streaming and Cassandra for scalable databases. So this is the combination which Netflix is using, and I really encourage all of you to go through these case studies, try to understand their architecture. This will help you build the right skill. This will help you to build the right skill set. This will help you build the right approach, that how to approach when you are trying to create any new application, when you are trying to create any enhance any existing application, what are the best practices. So such studies definitely help us create that kind of mindset. So in Netflix, the key services used are like Kafka and Cassandra, and they are deployed on services like EC2 for compute and S3 for storage. And we all are familiar that Netflix is successfully delivering content to all to millions of users across the world. Second use case, which has like lot of customer base, so it is like Airbnb. So Airbnb is something which helps us with the like short term and long term stays. So they get a lot of booking, they get a lot of queries. So this kind of application is set up using Apache Spark, and it is like using all the big data ecosystem, and it is using services in AWS, it is using services AMR and S3. Expedia, it is a like travel booking company. So how it is actually developed, how it has actually architected its application, again using Kafka, because it has got a lot of real time data. So for real time streaming they are using Kafka. And they also get a lot of search requests, because when we are searching for flights, we are searching for hotels, so they are using open search service in order to fulfill those search requests. And for Kafka they are using MSK, which is managed service for Kafka in AWS. Hence they are actually managing the performance and scalability of their application. Next application which I have picked is FINRA. So FINRA is like Financial Regulatory Authority. So it again, like it uses Hadoop and Spark frameworks, means it is using the combination of EMR and S3, because they have got the huge data sets and they need a lot of security. So using these services, they are able to meet their requirements. Then last example which I have picked on this slide is Samsung. So Samsung uses like Kubernetes system. Kubernetes, it's like container management framework. So their application is entirely container based, and they are using Kafka for like streaming for IoT, or like real time streaming. So and they are using services in combination with, like for Kafka they are using MSK. For EMR they are using for like big data, for so for that processing they are using EMR. And then everything like this combined application is actually packaged onto the EKS, which is like Kubernetes management service, elastic Kubernetes service. So this is how they are like operating in this world and successfully like dealing with customer base, and they are very well known and profitable organizations as on date. So in real world, this combination open source and AWS is actually adding value to the businesses. Okay, that's it on the slides part. For the demo, I have picked one application. So what we are going to do, we are going to use open source Docker, because we are going to create an application in a container, and then we will run that container on Amazon EC2. That's the exercise we are going to do now. Before I go into the hands-on, do we have any questions? Is AWS free for students? I won't say it's absolutely free, but there are like lots of programs which you can join and get lots of like discounts. So it will not be absolutely free, but you will need to pay nominal bills, I would say. What about Geo Cinema? Sorry, I'm not sure where Geo has hosted its infrastructure. But yes, Hotstar, that is on AWS. So whatever Star Plus applications you see, those are like streamed from like AWS infrastructure. Which cloud is better? It's 100 million question. So everyone. So it's like competitive world. Every provider has some like strengths, some weaknesses. So nowadays it's like time of going to multi-cloud. It's not the case that we should stick to one cloud. So whatever is the like best from every word you need to use. If someone is like best in providing compute services, go ahead and use those services from that cloud provider. And if someone is providing better storage services, we can go there. But it's like all cloud provider ultimately more or less they are same. They are like providing similar services and similar charge model they have. So there is no huge difference, but yes, still they have their like own expertise in different segments, so we can actually go multi cloud. All right, let me go onto the console. So as I mentioned, like what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a very basic hello world microservice. I'm going to dockerize it and want to deploy it on EC2. So this is my AWS homepage. Here I have logged into my AWS account and this is the landing page I have got. Here I can choose services. Since I'm very familiar with AWS, I know the compute services like EC2. But yes, in case if you are starting new, so once you come onto this landing page, you can actually click onto this actually the style icon where all the services are listed. So if you go into different categories, you can see what all different services are available, and there is like small description is also written, so you can choose that okay which service you should use for your use case. For example, when I was talking about database services, so you can see there are so many database services are there. Document DB is there, which MongoDB, it's like equivalent to MongoDB. DynamoDB, as I called out, it is like NoSQL database service. Elastic Cache, it's like for creating your like cache on top of your databases. If I call about Neptune, so it is a service where you can create your graph databases. RDS, we talked about. QLDB is quantum ledger database, which is normally used for your blockchain applications. Time stream is for IoT data. So it's like fast, scalable, and serverless time series database. So you can just read the description and pick the service accordingly. Now, if I come back to our example today, where we are trying to create a microservice, or we can say we are going to create a small application and we want to Dockerize it, and then we need to deploy it onto AWS. So we need some compute service. So let's go to compute section. So here we can see there are a lot of compute services are available, and the very popular ones are EC2 and Lambda. So EC2 is something where we can actually go ahead and create a server, and Lambda is something which is a serverless offering in AWS. So for this, we are picking EC2. And as I think somewhere I called out that yes, it gives us global infrastructure presence. So here you can actually pick the regions, that exactly in which region of the world you want to deploy this. So means there are different region across the world. So let's say we are in India, but we are creating some application for US population. So we can actually go ahead and pick the US region to create our resources, to create our servers. So we can pick any region, so we just need to select any specific region and we can create our resources in that specific region. Okay. Northern Virginia is something which is a very good region when we are trying out things, because in Northern Virginia, people don't really prefer to deploy their production classified application. Reason being, this is the region which goes down at times because this is the experimental region for AWS as well. Whenever they come up with some new feature or they some new service, so they roll out that service first of all to Northern Virginia region. So this is the reason. So when we are doing some POCs, or we are like just creating some dummy application testing things, so better you stick to Northern Virginia. But yes, you are free to use any region what are available. So in this Northern Virginia region, I'm just going on to instances. Here I have one instance already running. I'm going to create a new one. We just need to name it. I'm just naming it open source demo. Most of the settings I'm going to use default. So here we need to choose image. So I'm sticking to this default Linux image. So I'm going to create a Linux machine basically. And then T2 micro is fine because it has this free tier eligible tag. There are like different instances I can pick, but yes, those are not free. So for EC2, we have per hour billing. So we need to pay whenever like we are using instance, and they differ in combination of CPU and memory. Since we are just creating a hello world application, it is perfectly fine for us. And then we need to choose a key pair. This is a security mechanism which is available. It is nothing but a private and public key combination. Rest everything I'm just keeping default. I'm not going into the details of these configuration. And with that, I'm saying launch instance. I'm just assuming that you guys are a little bit familiar with AWS and have used these basic services like, so I'm going to use primarily EC2 today. So this is our instance. It is currently pending. So it should be available in few seconds. So now once this machine is available, we want to use Docker on this. So obviously by default, Docker is not available. It is not installed into this machine. So I have these steps available here on this Medium blog that how we can containerize microservice with ECS. So I'm not going to cover this ECS part. So we are just focusing that how we can containerize microservice on EC2. So now the machine is available. Let's log into this machine. So I'm simply using this ready connect option. So if you are not familiar with Docker, so that's how I prefer to follow my blog here, where I have written all the commands so you can actually refer it later as well. And I will share the link. So here, first of all, what am I doing? I'm creating a microservice. So what this microservice is doing, I am simply creating a file, Python file, and where I'm using Flask actually. So I'm just returning this string there, hello world. And this microservice is running on port 5000. Okay, so only this is the thing which I'm going to create as my application. So now this machine is available. So let's go ahead and create our application. So I'm calling it like index.py and simply pasted the content from this blog. Now, as a next step, in order to Dockerize it, we need to create a Docker file. So what I'm going to do in this Docker file, I'm providing these instructions that I'm using this Python base image, and then I'm copying this image and my application to this directory app. I'm assigning it as my working directory, and then I'm running installing the requirements, whatever dependencies I'm going to define in my requirements file. So I'm going to install all those dependencies, and then I'm exposing this port 5000, and then I'm simply running this application. So these are the instruction I'm providing in my Docker file. So this is the typical structure whenever you like use Docker. So you create a Docker file, and these are the like typical keywords. These are the typical attributes which you provide in your Docker file. That which image to use, where to run, what dependencies to install, which port you want to expose your application on, and then you finally run your application. So let's create this file. As a next step, we need to provide this requirements because this is something which we are using in our Docker file. So we need to create this requirement. So in this requirement.txt, I just need to add one dependency, which is Flask, because I'm creating my application using Flask. So if I say vi requirements.txt, and here I'm simply defining that, okay, you just go ahead and install Flask. That's it. So this is something which we have created, that what all different things we need to create to containerize this application. Now we need to see if Docker is available on machine. Since we have just created this server, we know Docker is not available, but still, yes, as a good practice, we can go ahead and check this. So it is not available. Now we can install Docker. Simple command sudo yum install Docker. So as a best practice, we can take the updates, but since it is this machine is just created, we need not to be having many updates. Yes, so no update is pending, and then we can actually install the Docker. And while it is installing, after it is installed, we can actually start this Docker. So this is how we generally work with Docker, whether we are using it on our like local machine or like anywhere. So same steps you need to follow on cloud as well. Then we need to add our user to the Docker group, and maybe rather than exit, I can just assign it to this new group, Docker. Then we can check this version again to ensure yes, everything is looking fine and we have like Docker available here. All right. So far what we did, we created our application, we created a Docker file, we created our dependencies which were there in the requirements.txt. Now, in order to set up the environment, what we did, we installed Docker on our machine. So far, we have not like created any Docker image or we have not run our applications. So as a next step, we are going to create our application image using Docker, and then we will run this microservice or run this application. So in order to create image, the command is docker build image name. So this will create a new image using the base image which we have written in our Docker file, and then the our application script which we have provided in index.py, and it will like maintain all the dependencies which we have provided in requirements.txt. Okay, so now this image is created. Now we can actually run this application. So if you're not very well familiar with Docker, so how we are running the Docker run, then name of your image or of your application, and then on which port you are doing. So this is the key thing to understand here. So I'm providing a port colon another port. So this is the port. The first port is something which is the local port, that locally on this EC2 machine at which port you want to expose this application, and this is the port that exactly where your application is running in your Docker. So if you recall, in our Docker file, we exposed it on port 5000. So this 5000 is the port which we are referring here. So let's run our application which is available in this image. So Now it is restarting and it says that yes, it is running on HTTP, this, which is like localhost, and then it is running on port 5000. So now how to check this application on like browser URL, how we can check that? So if we go to EC2 and grab its public IP, so using its public IP, we can check, and here I'm providing at local, I have given like it should be available on port 5000. So we can try to check here if this application is running, but something is wrong, it is not accessible here. Can anyone like guess, or can anyone share any thoughts that why I'm not able to access this application at this stage? What is missing? I'm waiting for some responses. Someone has written screen is not visible. Is that the case, Satakshi, if you can confirm?
Uh, it is visible.
Okay, great.
We had few questions from before.
Hmm. Yeah, let's
Um,
scan those questions while let everyone brainstorm that why this application is not accessible on the browser. Yes, Shatakshi,
there's
you
one
want to
question
like
from.
pop up? Hmm.
Yes, ma'am. I've popped it up on the screen. There's one question from Vinayak Sharma. He wants to know the difference, basic difference between EC2 and Lambda.
Okay, so the basic difference is that in EC2, as you just noticed, I gone ahead and created my machine. First of all, I created this machine and then I created my scripts, and then I'm running my application scripts there. But in Lambda it is like serverless service. It, you can also imagine it as a function as a service. So in Lambda what we can do, we can simply this index.py which we have created on EC2, we can simply run this script, choose the runtime in Lambda that okay, I want to run this script using Python. So it will like run it, and you will be charged only for the duration you are executing your application. But for EC2 we need to pay on hourly basis. For example, I have just created an EC2, though it is in free tier, but if I have created like any other EC2 which is not T2 micro, then even if I'm using it for like 15 minutes, I need to pay for 1 hour. So that's the basic difference, that EC2 is like server based, you need to manage your EC2 machine yourself, but Lambda is serverless, and there is a huge pricing difference. So if you are like going, if you are creating very small application like the one which I have just created, so Lambda is a better choice there. But since I had to install Docker etc., hence I could not use Lambda in this scenario, because Lambda, you just need to provide your packaged code and you need to just choose your runtime. So if I'm running a simple Python application not on Docker, then yes, I could go ahead on Lambda and have executed this application there. Next question, Satakshi. So is the EC2 feature free for us to use or it is paid? As I mentioned, in EC2, you need to look for that label free tier eligible. So normally T2 micro instances, these are like free tier eligible, and you get 750 hours per month free. But if you are using it beyond 750 hours in a month, then you need to pay on hourly basis. We can take next question, Satakshi.
So basically, this question was regarding containerization. A few of them
Okay.
had doubts for that process.
Okay. So let's go to the blog and then let's quickly revisit. So when we containerize any application, so the key thing for us to take some open source base image. Okay. So here, sorry. So this is the key file when we containerize using Docker. So this is the format we need to follow. That I'm going to containerize my application, which is written here in index.py. And for this application, I want some base image, which is Python base image. So you can choose any flavor, Python 2, Python 3, 3.7, 3.8, 3.10, anything. So you need to choose the base image that your application will best run onto which version. And then you need to deploy your files. So this image plus your application files, you need to like provide everything into one directory. So that is something where we are saying that okay, copy everything to this app directory and assign it as my working directory. And then once we have everything is available, like my base image, my application code, then I'm also adding dependencies here. So my dependencies are available here in requirements.txt. So I'm giving my dependencies reference here, that now when I have like image, when I have my application script, now next thing I need, because I'm using Flask, so I need these dependencies to be installed. So we are installing all the dependencies at this step. Then once everything is available, so now I'm instructing this Docker container that you can run this application on this specific port in container. And then we can actually provide command that how we need to run this application. So this is where we have just provided the instructions that this is how, means we are just defining the steps, that these are the steps in order to actually build my application and execute my application. And then here when we created image, so now we have bundled everything into that app directory. So now I'm saying that okay, now you create my own image, because I have used some base image which is like alpine image. Now I want to create a new image which has all my application logic, which has all my dependencies. So this is where we have created that new image. So now this new image is available and I can run this image anywhere, whether I can run it on my local machine, any on-premise server, AWS, GCP, any other cloud. So you can run it anywhere. Okay. And so this is the image. So we just need to make this image available. We just need to copy this image to the specific machine, whether it is like AWS machine or whether it is your own laptop. So you just need to copy this image and then you need to run this command. So it will actually run this image and make your application uh, available at port, whatever you are defining here. In my case, I have defined that at local port 5000, please run this application which is getting created out of this image. So these are the typical container steps. And by the way, if you are not familiar and you want to understand this container concept, uh, next week, most likely on Saturday, we are going to have a container deep dive session on the AWS User Group Delhi NCR. Maybe I can just ping this link. So you, whosoever is interested, can actually register here. So you get the pop-up. Um, Satakshi, can you please ping this link to everyone?
Yes, sure, ma'am.
Okay. So you can actually register there, and we are going to have container deep dive session there where you can understand these concepts in more detail and more structured manner. Okay, maybe Satakshi, we are good to take next question. Do we have any further questions? Can I go for associate level? Yes, you can. There is no like dependencies that yes, you need to go into that order, that first of all you need to do practitioner, then associate, then professional. It's just about your your comfort level, your experience. So generally what AWS says that when you are appearing for any associate level certification, you should be having around 1 year hands-on experience working on AWS. Then you can actually appear for that associate level certification, but that is just a recommendation, not an hard and fast rule. So if you are confident and if you have worked on like AWS services, you are familiar with this ecosystem, yes, you can go ahead for associate level certification or even professional level certification directly. But just the benefit what we get when we are going in sequence. So what happens when you go for like very basic certification, that is the cloud practitioner one. So once you clear one certification, then you get a 50% voucher, 50% discount voucher for your next certification. So for cloud practitioner, the certification cost is $100, and for associate, it is $150. So you paid $100, you got 50% voucher for your next certification. So rather than 150, you can just complete that certification in $75. So in $175, you can achieve both cloud practitioner as well as associate. And also another benefit is like, so it gives you confidence that yes, like how, because when you are going step by step, it gives you confidence and courage to appear for the harder level. So it's up to you. But yes, there is no such thing that you need to go in order. Sorry,
So
Satakshi, I
next
think I missed the
question.
question. Yeah, which, yeah.
Yeah.
What are the other similar cloud machine for learning purpose? There are many cloud providers in the industry nowadays. So AWS, Google Cloud Platform, Azure, these are the popular ones. But there are some other small players as well. So, and there is like open cloud as well. So you can actually go ahead and work on any cloud. I hope that answers your question. And as someone asked, like, is there something for students? So yes, like in AWS specifically, they have like cloud code clubs where a lot of campaigns, lot of discount vouchers, lot of labs access you get like so. For example, if I show you like as I'm pretty active in AWS community. I'm like AWS hero as well. So I do get lot of discount vouchers. So if I show at my account, like whatever I'm experimenting in my AWS account, I generally don't need to pay anything for that. For example, I'm just trying to show you that if I see any cost so far in this month, I'm just trying to see that thing. So here I am just on my home page, and here, so far it is showing that I have this cost around $8 in my account. And if I want to check more details, I can actually go to this billing and cost management and I can see. And this is where like all the discount vouchers are added. So when the bill will be generated, so it will be nullified because if I have some credits available in my account, so it will be adjusted into those credits. Um, Sorry, please bear with me. My network is pretty slow today. So yes, as we can see, there is some credit available, which is expiring on 31st December. And this much is the amount available there. And this is like I have used so far. And this credit I have got as from the AWS Heroes category. But when you attend various events, when you're associated with the community, there are different opportunities when you can get such credits. and can keep on experimenting. And this AWS community and AWS, they support if you are working on some use case, if you have some great idea and you want to experiment on that, so you can reach out to us and we can help you get some credits if that idea is really strong enough. All right, do we have any further questions?
Regarding the meetup, is it an offline meet?
We do it both ways. Sometimes few meetups we like conduct them offline in-person events, which obviously they are normally there in Delhi NCR, and there are few online meetups as well. So, for example, the container one which I was talking about. So this is a online series which is going on. So we have online sessions, virtual sessions, and we will conduct them using same on YouTube streaming. So these are the online sessions. But if you are in Delhi NCR, yes, you can leverage like offline meetups as well. So there is one offline meetup which is announced for 28th of June, which is going to be a deep dive on Amazon Q. Okay. Any other question?
Can you share the
Medium link.
Medium link?
Yes. Great call out as I missed it earlier. So this is the link for this specific blog. Um, Sorry, I'm running in different browsers, hence I'm confused. So this is the link for this specific blog, but there are many other blogs published. So let me just remove this one. So if you want to try out some other lab exercises, because most of these blogs I have created especially for the trainings or sessions which I have conducted. So it has like detailed lab step one by one. So you can actually follow this blog and like do hands-on and create your application or like explore that specific service or feature. So there are various blogs are available. So if you want to explore more on AWS, you can definitely go ahead and follow these exercises. AWS can support a startup. Yes, they do support a lot. So there are lots of events. You just need to be like vigilant on social media, especially on LinkedIn and Twitter. So you can see a lot of announcement. But yes, if you have some great idea, you can discuss. Like you can discuss with me, and you must be like in touch with various other community members. So like just let me know, and I will help you connect with the right people. Can you distribute some vouchers in between students? Yes, I do distribute lots of vouchers in the AWS meetup. Since today's focus was like open source, so I actually didn't reserve any vouchers for this one. But yes, like when we conduct like any offline or online meetups, we do like reserve some vouchers for active participants. So just register on that meetup group which I shared and attend our events, and you will get some vouchers. And there is a program, Amazon Cloud Code Cloud Clubs. So you can join those groups. They are specifically for students. Can you share online meetup groups? See, there are like lots of AWS user group in India. I think around 23, if I remember correctly. So all user groups, they keep on conducting online as well as in-person events. So you just need to be a little active on the LinkedIn, because whenever we are like creating any meetup or like user groups are creating any meetups, they are publishing on LinkedIn. So Just make sure you are active on LinkedIn and you are registering for like relevant events when they are published. Any other questions, Satakshi? Are there any free cloud machines? So as I just showed, like EC2 instance, which I just created. So since it is in like free tier, so it is absolutely free. So you just need to create your AWS account if you don't have already. When you create your AWS account, it asks you for the credit card details. It's just like when we create like AWS Prime, Amazon Prime account, sorry. So it charge like 2 rupees for validation, and which credit means after it is validated, it like credit back to your account. So once you have like active AWS account, you can start playing, and you just make sure that you're stick to the resources which are like free tier eligible, and ensure when that you are deleting the resources after you have done your like experimentation. For example, let's say today I want to spend 1 hour 2 hour on my application. So means I'm working, I've created a machine for 2 hours, and then I'll make sure that I'm deleting that machine, and I will create it again tomorrow when I want to spend time tomorrow, or maybe after a week or so. Whenever I want, like I can recreate that machine. If I want to take backup, I can create an image and then like use that machine, use that backed up image and can further increment on it. So in that sense, they are like free machines. You can use EC2, you can use Lambda, various other services. With every service, we have some free tier limit. So don't hesitate, just start using it like vigilantly, I would say. It should not be the case that you have created some machine and you forgot to delete. Then you will be in trouble. Yes, Atakshi. Any further questions?
Guys, if you have any more questions, this is the time to ask. We are at the end of our question and answer
Yes.
section. So please go ahead.
And before like we wrap up, let me tell you, because I didn't get that answer, that why this machine is, why my application is not running. So the reason was that by default we don't have access. Like cloud infrastructure is pretty secure. By default, it is not the case that yes, we can run it anywhere just like that. So we need to provide a specific configuration if we want to give someone access. So when we talk about EC2, there is a concept of security group. So security groups are nothing. They act as like firewall, that who can access your application. You can define your rules in there. So in this security group, I explicitly need to open this port where I want to allow my application to run. By default, we just get port 22 open for SSH, so we can actually log into the machine the way we did. If I want to run it anywhere else, I need to add that port. So here I need to add that port 5000, and I'm making it available for everyone 000. This IP range refers that it is like available on internet for anyone to access. So provide I need to open this port in my security group, which is associated with this EC2 instance. And then I should be able to access my application. And here you go. Here we can see that yes, this application is up and running. This is not running directly on my EC2 machine. It is running on that container. Hence, we have provided this port, right? So this is my container application, or you can call it microservice. So this is the concept. This is how you create your microservices, deploy, containerize them, and deploy them. So this is one example that you can use like open sources on AWS. I had another application running in my account. So in this application, what we did, we just used one container. But there may be scenarios that my entire application is like composed from different containers. For example, in one container, I'm running my web code. In another container, I have my actually application logic, and in third container, I may have my database. So the demo application, and this is the actually application which I was creating for the demo next week, where I'm saying we are going to do the container deep dive. So this is running on this machine. So this is the machine where my application container is running. Let me try to grab this IP address and see if it is running. And I don't remember where I have published it on port 5000. No, I think I exposed it on port 3000. So yeah, this is the demo application which I'm working on. So this is like books list. It's simply, you can imagine it's like your library application where you have the list of books. I can go ahead and add any books here. So means to add that, this is going into my database. So this database is MongoDB, is the another open source which I'm using here. So let's say I'm just calling it demo books, some description. So it will be added to my Mongo container, Mongo application, which is running on a different container. Not sure what has happened. Sorry, it is a still work in progress. So that might be the reason. Or maybe my bad network. So if I go to like tutorial, so here what I'm trying to do, I'm just like trying to create all the CRUD operations that I can create, update, delete any like data which is available on my database, and it will dynamically come here. So this is the application which we will learn, which I will like help you guys learn, so you can create any like application which has some front end, which has some back end, and it is running on multiple containers. So how to deal with that. So this is the kind of exercise we are going to do next week. So yeah, I think that's it for the idea. If we have any further questions, happy to take. If you get any questions later on, feel free to ping me on LinkedIn. um, yep, I think that's it.
Yes, I think that's it for today's session. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable time. It was a great hands on session. Since a lot of them in our program are from second year, first year, I think it was an amazing intro to them for the cloud computing domain. We are really grateful for this session today, and thank you so much for your valuable time.
Thank you, Satakshi. It's like all efforts we are doing in community so that yes, students like you can really learn and can leverage our experience. So yes, and just a one thing I want to call out, though everyone is familiar that whenever you are learning any new concept, make sure that you are like not just reading through it. Make sure you are doing some hands-on, building some small application around that. So make sure you are doing that. And if like let's say if just a concept, you actually cannot go ahead and create any application, make sure you are writing a blog or something. And that ensures that, because we learn more when we teach. Because when we are writing, let's say you are just writing a blog, then also you will think twice that okay, yes, have I covered anything. You will get a lot of feedback, okay, this step is missing, how you did this. So make sure that you are putting a structure on your learning, whether by writing or by actually implementing things. So those learnings are those learnings are they stay with us for longer time than just when we are just keep on learning things and we are not trying them out. So those learnings are generally goes waste, or maybe we cannot leverage more on those kind of learnings. But yes, when you are putting some structure on your learnings, they stay more and you can relate better and you can connect the dots when you are learning further concepts. So that's just one tip based on my experience. So I hope you find it useful. And if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you, guys.
Uh,
Thanks for your time and patience. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.